All right, cool. I think we are live. Let's see. Let's go ahead and drop this in the Discord real quick. All right, man. What's good, y'all? I'll turn these notifications off, man. We locked in there real quick. We are locking in real quick. Don't disturb me. About to break down these charts real quick, man. Welcome, man. Wednesday. It's a great day. It's been a good week so far. About to break down gold. If y'all don't know, all the volume right now is in gold. All the volume right now is in gold, man. So I've mainly been on gold. Haven't really touched US 30 in a minute. But yeah, man. So let's go ahead and Let's get into it. I believe Bag Snatcher will be joining us in a few. Well, let me go ahead and get started. All right, let's see. Is my screen showing? All right, screen is showing. All right, cool. Let's get into it. Uh, let's see. All righty. So, gold, man. Before I give them my best trade, I'm just gonna kind of break it down. Price action that's happened since Sunday. What's good, Bag Snatcher?
I'm the cut man. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. All right, so coming into this week, Sunday open, weekly open. All right. What's coming into this week? If I just do a quick replay, you see that we started to open up the week right here. Okay. So coming into this week, I still wanted to be bullish just because overall on the higher time frame I'm bullish. But we had these equal highs here and these equal lows here. So one of these lows we're gonna get tagged, okay? Um, so we play this through. We see that the low eventually gets tagged, and then that kind of starts the downward motion on gold, okay? Where's that weekly open? There it is. Okay. So I actually did, let me see. I actually did take some sales over here on some sales on gold. So this was a quick sell down to this equal lows right here. Do start new. So you see that right here we had these equal lows right here. Okay, and once price started dropping down, so now I'm reading institutional price flow. Price is dropping, comes back, respects the 15-minute loot zone, drops, comes back, order block, drops again, okay? And look at how we create this wick, and then we drop again, and then we start buying. So now retail is thinking, oh, we're support. We're at support. Let's buy. Let's buy. Okay. Well, all price did, so now we're just waiting, being patient. All price did was come, flashbang into 1 hour loot zone, got to enter in the lower time frame, and I was now able to write that down to these equal lows. Okay. So that was kind of the first trade I took. But let's go into more price action. So then on Monday was kind of the same thing. This was Monday agent sessions. So,
Time.
yep.
Slow down just a little bit. Just a little bit.
All right, cool, 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 cool. All right, cool. All right, so after we took out this equal lows, we went ahead and dropped some more, creating support. Okay. Price now created this resistance, and Backsnatcher and I were actually looking to take more shorts because we thought this could fall into this daily, this daily swing low over here. Okay, this daily swing low over here. So with that, we went ahead and got an entry over here. Flashbang drops, creates an order block, and actually took sales over here and wrote it all the way down to the support. However, I wish I was able to hold because this really, really melted off. Okay. So then when Tuesday morning came, okay, this is now my best setup for the week. Let's go down to the 5 minute and break this trade down. Okay. So we have had this massive drop during London. Okay. And we dropped into a 1 hour loot zone after we have now swept that daily low. Okay. So since we just had a big expansion from London, all of this was London. Uh, all this was London, one downward motion. Okay. So there's a high probability, especially after hitting this 1 hour loop zone, that price is going to retrace. Okay. So with that, we had this downward close candle. Once we close above it, okay, that now creates a C4. And there was this small 5 minute loop zone right here. Okay. And then also with that, before I take any type of trade, if I'm looking to take buys, I always want to ensure that I am buying in discounts. Okay. So from low to high, price dropped, came back up, and came down and caught and did a flashbang. So before I take any type of entry, I'm always waiting for a turtle soup, okay, or flashbang. Then once price started printing, I went ahead and took an impulse entry. After this closed bullish, stop loss down here. We see we now push up, taking out this high. And then this is also very telling as well. So right here, as price is going up, once again, we're building liquidity above this high. Retail is thinking this is resistance. Okay. So they're shorting this to go down. Okay. And now what do? We come down, we take out any buyers that have now moved their stop loss above this beneath this low. We're now taking that out, and now we're now rushing to take out all these sellers who were selling here. Okay. And now after that, once we did that, we now come back into this 15-minute loot zone before we now really start exploding all the way up. Okay. All right, perfect. Oh, stop going. Okay, so I went ahead and TP'd somewhere up here, okay? Because we had this swing high right here. And then by this time, this was around PM session. So once price started dropping, okay, there was a high probability that price can probably retrace. So I went ahead and TP'd, secured my money, and then waited for the next trade, okay? So I was still bullish, okay? Because I believe we still had highs up here and this daily fair value gap that we could go take, okay? So yesterday night, let's rewind this to the 5 minute. Now, real quick before I go on, this right here, another reason why I TP'd at this specific high is we now had a structure shift to the downside, okay? So we had this low that took out this low, okay? This low, this low took out this low, and this low now pushed price up to make a higher high, taking out this high. This low is now significant because this is the low that took out liquidity, and this is the low that also pushed price up to make a higher high, taking out this high. So once we now close beneath this low, boom, right there. Okay, that's a bearish a market structure shift. And then look at price probably use this little 5 minute loot zone right here to now go and start selling. So this is how I track institutional order flow to make sure I'm still on the right side of things. Okay. So with that, you now see that from this this low to this high, after I've now TP and I see the structure shift, I'm now going to wait for the next best entry for a retracement. Because once again, just kind of like how London session had this big drop and started retracing, during New York session, we had this big expansion move to the upside. Okay. So after expansion, price can either do one or two things. Price can either go into consolidation or price can go into a retracement profile. Okay. So right here, we have this big drop. Boom. Okay, so I was actually watching this wick. Okay, so this was a big drop before finally started pushing up. But look at how this 1 hour loot zone right here that I had drawn out as price was pushing up and I TP'd, I had this 1 hour loot zone. So if price is to retrace, the best buying opportunity would be within this 1 hour loot zone, as long as price doesn't close beneath it. Okay. And then you can see we also hit this order block down here. This last toward downward close candle before the big move up. Okay. So now with that, as price started pushing up, I did not get in yet. I was being patient. I actually missed this entry over here. So now once again, kind of the same thing. Price now formed support down here, respecting this 1 hour loot zone. Okay. And had this big push up. Okay. So now with that, once price starts rejecting and coming down, okay, you can now pull out your fib below the high. And once again, you want to be buying below the 50%, okay, in discounts. Okay. And then obviously this right here was another indicator why I was looking to take buys. So look at how we had this high right here and we didn't take it out. We left equal highs, okay? Clean highs. So this was another reason why I was looking to be bullish once price started retracing back down. Even though I missed this entry to ride price all the way up to these highs, once price left an equal high and didn't truly take it out, okay, that was hinting to me that a second leg or a second buy can be coming. Okay. So low to high and want to buy below the 50%. Okay. And now below the 50%, you want to be looking for your loot zones, your C4s, and then look to see if price can now push that up. Okay. So I had this 15-minute loot zone out here drawn out. I zoom in. Let me delete this. This is also a 4 hour loot zone right here as well. But let me get rid of that. So right here, this small gap in price, 15-minute loot zone, and then this last two downward close candle, you can use that as an order block. Okay. So kind of the same thing that happened here. This last two downward close candle, close above it, order block C4. Last two are down close candles, close above it aggressively. We displace, we push. Okay. That creates not your order block, with your loot zone, making this a very high probability buying area. Okay. So now with that, let me stop playing, stop playing. All right, cool. So now with that, I'm gonna take your attention over here, delete all this. So right here, you see that we have this low right here, sitting right here. Okay. So this is actually where I got my entry. We have a flashbang. I got my entry. I actually got my entry on the 1 minute. I'm not gonna drill down too much, but my entry was 323964 with a stop loss like here. Okay. And then now this was obviously TP1, but I was really aiming higher all the way up here to this vault because we have a daily loot zone sitting up above here. Okay. So you can see once price took out this low, started pushing up. Okay. So simple market structure. Let's go through it. Low, high, low, high. Okay. We now make a higher low. Okay. This is a retracement. Higher low. We now push up. We create a short-term high. Okay. A lower high. And now with this, price is either going to go down and make a lower low, test these lows and make a lower low, or price is going to respect this low and make a higher low. Okay, simple market structure. So once price is now coming down here and creating that higher low, that gives you more confirmation. Okay, and now with that, we'll see that gold rode all the way up. Very smooth, clean price action. Okay, all the way up, hit the vaults, and then from there, this is a great TP area because now we have now hit a daily loot zone. Okay. So that was kind of the price movement on gold to start the week. I kind of rolled y'all through y'all the whole story. Showed you guys the first buys I took over here. Okay, which was a good TP. I remember when I TP'd over here, I was kind of like a little frustrated because I know that price can even go higher. But once again, it was a good TP because all price did was have this crazy wick come back to my entry. You know what I'm saying? And then obviously this beast right here is monster trade, almost a 9 to 1. Okay. So price came into this daily loot zone, and then price went ahead and sold off. But I also took these sells, but Back Snatcher took these sells with me, so I'm gonna let him break it down since I've just broke down all the buys. All right, cool.
Is there any just key lessons from that being the best trade of the week? Was there any like one, two key things that stood out to you that you feel like, folks should keep their mind fixated on?
For sure. I think one of them is when you place a trade, don't interrupt that trade. Okay. You've taken your time out to do the analysis. You have your zones, you have an anticipation of what price is going to do. So when you see price doing what you predicted is going to do, you need to execute fearlessly. Okay. Don't hesitate. You've already mapped out this heist. Blueprint, you've looked at the CCTV, you've looked at, how many hostages are going to be there at a specific time. You've done the groundwork. So trust your setup. Don't move your stop loss and set your TP. And it's either the lesson from the stop loss or the glory of the target. Okay, so that's number one. And then number two, I think it's if I had to say anything, no one went broke taking partials. Okay. So there was many times when I was in gold and I was like, should I hold? Should I close? At the end of the day, take partials, maybe set break even. But no one went broke taking partials. And I've had a great week so far, just taking partials, moving stop loss up and managing my trade correctly. Cool.
Solid, solid, solid. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take it from here, and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. This wasn't what I do. I don't know. Something weird just popped up. So let me share my screen here. I don't know if you see that.
Yep.
Okay. Just give me 1 second, guys. Let me get this sorted. I need to do this real quick. Let me know what you see. I'm just like you probably see what's going on right here.
Yeah, Samsung portable SSD.
I'm trying to make sure I have record this a little bit on my side as well.
So
All right, perfect. So today's best setup, or really this week so far, really came from gold. Um, the markets have been very like somewhat just operating on its own without any news being released due to the government being shut down. So in this framework I'm about to share, there's two things I think we need to focus on the most in terms of executing the trade, which is fair value gaps and your liquidity. Fair value gaps, what we're calling the Texas Heist is the loot zone, just so you don't get that confused. And a fair value gap, by definition, is just an area of fair value where there might be inefficiency of a buyer or a seller. In this case, there were more like bearish fair value gaps or bearish loot zones where there was inefficient buying going on. So price has to go back in the area, create some buying pressure in the area, and then fall off. And I'll break all that down. But the two things that I think were critical for this trade was really loot zones and vaults. In other words, fair value gaps and liquidity pools. So those are two things I want you guys to focus on. Now, these were the trades that I took and executed on. The first one was on the 15-minute chart. Entries were taken right here at this inverse loot zone. Again, a lot of buying pressure here, right? No sell candle was present until we find this candle that paints over there, which makes that area balanced. And when price trades back into there, right, we go over candles here just because we have this fair value gap or lose on a price trades beyond it does not mean we ignore it. We still keep track of that inefficiency that was created between this candle's high, this candle's low. So as price traded back in there, I was executing shorts to take the price lower. And then we had this candle. And I took price lower. I stopped right here specifically because this is a 4,000 level. From an institutional level, if you think about it, that's going to be a level where there's a lot of interest in the market, period, right? Imagine running a hedge fund or you hold billions of dollars. You might tell your traders, hey, if price gets to 4 billion, buy. Or I mean 4,000, buy. If price gets 4,000, sell. So that's a psychological number. And I was expecting that price could easily go from, if it's going to drift anywhere, it's going to drift to this level. And a secondary trade was taken here. So I had to get out the way because there was news release, right? The federal funds rate actually cut interest rates, which led to this spike here. Boom. So I want to stay out the way. Price ran up higher, then dropped back. And actually at 14:30, that's the FOMC news as well. So with a federal fund raise, if you look at your calendar, it's a two-stage delivery. You're gonna have one take place at 2 o'clock or on New York time and the other at 2:30 New York time. I tend to like to be out of the markets when those are going on and execute after that takes place. And if you're just starting, that's definitely what you should be doing. You should not be trying to be in front of a news release, especially like the federal funds rate, because that can rip your face off. Even if you have your stop loss in place, the market can run right through that. Your broker just going to tell you order rejected, and you're going to regret the fact that you didn't wait till news release and then execute. So, end of the day, the goal is to avoid doing stupid stuff. As much as I could have just stayed in the trade and the prices ran all the way lower, the smarter thing to do was to get out of the way, let the news release take place, because you don't know how far they can move price higher before then turning it around. So you want to make sure you execute, you remove doing stupid shit. And being in the markets before news release is one of the stupid stuff you can do, especially when it's news events like the federal funds rate or CPI. So first trade executed, boom, at 10 a.m. all the way here. Nice trade. We had the federal funds rate news, goes higher, takes out these highs, drops lower. As drops lower, it trades back higher into what is a fair value gap, a loot zone, and then this shaded yellow area is a 1 hour chart. It's a 1 hour loot zone as well, and that price drops lower. So again, that's just what happened. I'm gonna break down into exact details all the way from the weekly to the daily to the 4 hour to 15 minutes, 5 minutes to 1 minute. Maybe I won't get to 1 minute to the 5 minute. That's what we're gonna get into. I just want to give you the high level what happened, what I executed on. Now, let's get straight into the weekly chart. First things first. So coming into the week, it's important to know that gold has had how many days of bullishness? Straight bullishness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight weeks of bullish price action. Then we finally had somewhat of a bearish, well, we had a bearish candle this last week. So now we're looking to see if this week's going to continue. So after 9 straight bullish weeks, we finally look like we want to have some type of swing high forming. And if that's the case, every pullback, we're expecting when price wants to pull back, form a swing high, it should at least retrace into the 50% of the weekly of that range. So my expectations, which remains as to why I was also considering price wanting to drop lower, is I want to see price drop at least to 50% of that weekly range. So we're still short of it. We have not hit it yet. So I'm still expecting that push to 3.875-ish. We'll see if we can get that. But again, this is the range that we're working with here. Okay. So now you go to the daily chart. So that's the premise on weekly chart. Expectation. Can we get some pullback? We're ready. We look like we're having some type of retracement. Let's get to the 50% level. You go on the daily chart. On the daily chart, we have a nice swing high forming, already formed. We have another distribution level here. So price created a swing high, right? Sells off here, boom. And then it created this nice little loop zone here. And again, these areas is inefficient because you see selling just took place here, no buying. So when price finally trades in there, we can expect what? It to be sensitive and a potential sell-off to take place. So that's why price traded in here, and we saw that rejection take place. And that's another reason that amplified the reason why I was wanting to short the market was because we have this nice little zone in price already dropping. We have not hit 50% of the weekly range. So I do want to see if this can reject price and then drop us to 50% of the range. Where can it go? Maybe below this low. Who knows? If we're on a weekly chart, let's just kind of do this overlay real quick. Let's see where the 50% is. So 50% is around here. So there's a low resting here. Perhaps we can maybe go below this low, trade into this order block here, C4, and maybe that'll be enough for us to be done with the downward pressure and potentially resume our way higher. So, but whether that's me predicting the markets now, but just focus on what happened. We had this fair value gap here, loop zone, price trades into that, expecting some rejection. We get that. That's one of the reasons that I took the trade. Let's go on the 4-hour chart. In a 4-hour chart, I'm not going to turn bullish on gold. If you look on your 4-hour chart, this is why it's important. This 4-hour loop zone, I'm giving you guys some key game here, right? This is a game I did not get until I just back tested a lot. And I don't think anyone really even talked about it, frankly. I just back tested this a lot, so it's actually a gem here. So if you look at your fair value gaps, your loop zones, what you want to pay attention to is which one is holding up the structure. It's very important. Which one's holding up the structure? So if you look very closely, this is the first fair value gap formed. This whole structure here, from here all the way to the high. The first one that formed is this one right here. So that's holding up the structure. So I consider that a structural fair value gap or a structural loop zone, meaning it holds up the structure. So as long as price stays below that, I'm going to expect sells. If we finally get above it, then I can look at buys. But until then, because this structure was held up by that fair value gap, and now we're finally below it, my mind is fixated on sells. So whenever you see some type of structural fair value gap in place, which is the first fair value gap formed in the bullish move, that is holding up a whole structure of price. If that level gets inverted, I'm expecting sells to take place, if that makes sense. So you can kind of see some of the taste of it over here as well. If you look at this fair value gap here on the 4-hour chart as well, why this one? Well, if you look closely, price dipped into this fair value gap. See that? Price dipped into this fair value gap right here and took off. So what's holding this whole price run is this last 4-hour fair value gap, right? It's quite different from the structural fair value gap, but I just gave you guys two key elements here when you're looking at fair value gaps. This is very, very key. This is one that, again, I don't even hear anyone talk about it. It's probably the first time it's been revealed. I'm pretty sure ICT knows what it is, but just not really talked about it as much. So point is, this is the one that held up price, pushed price higher. Look how when price comes back below it, what does it do? Boom, rejects. Trades back here, boom, rejects. Now we have another structural fair value gap right here. So as price trades below that, it comes back higher. It does two things: sweeps a pool of liquidity, hops into a daily fair value gap, trades into a structural fair value gap, and now we start to reject. So expectation where we're gonna go lower, right? We still have not hit the 50% level yet. So this is another reason why when we ran here, just remember the blue shaded area. You're gonna see how it looks on lower time frame. You on the 1-hour chart. All right, 1-hour chart. So, what we have here is this level right here, this nice little C4. Okay, and within that C4, there's a level there that will be broken down in the 15-minute chart. But understand this is a nice little order block here that price trades into and then rejects. But again, I want us to focus on the teaching of fair value gaps, and liquidity pools. That's where I want our minds to be fixated on for now. So on the 1 hour chart, there is a structural fair value gap that you might not have, that they might not be paying attention to. I'm going to draw it out shortly. But look how the day started. We want to see, if you want to be bearish, right? You want to see price go higher first, then reject. If you want to be bullish, you want to see price go lower first, then reject. So if you pay attention, the day started where my mouse is right now. Where were the highs? Where were the lows? If price wanted to go bullish for the day, it would have ran below some type of liquidity pool lower first, or it would have ran into some type of loop zone first. But what does price decide to do instead? It decides to go higher first to take out what? This high here. Again, if you're thinking about it, the market's open, boom. Where are the highs? Where are the lows? That's the first thing you should think about. If price runs towards one first, then you want to consider doing the opposite, especially if all the other things add up, like I just mentioned so far. So price opens here, boom. What does it do? It goes straight for the highs, taking out what? This pool liquidity, straight higher into a structural fair value gap. So at this point, my mind is thinking this is likely to drop. We're still bearish on the daily chart. As much as the structure looks good on the 4 hour, 1 hour, we have to keep in mind that the high time frame is still showing us that it wants to be bearish. And again, the 4 hour structure has not shifted because it has not traded above that 4 hour fair value gap. So our minds should focus on bearishness, sells. So price runs higher, taking out these highs into this 1 hour order block, and I'm gonna draw that 1 hour structure. Look one right here. Boom. See that? So that also was, this was the first fair value gap formed for this whole structure right here. That's why it's important. So when price trades back below that and closes, look what price does there. Boom, boom. It's indicating some more bearishness. If you look closer, we have another one right here. This is holding up this whole price run. As this cam does this move here, boom, it doesn't close, but the amount of aggression that it used to go through this level was indicating it's likely to keep on going lower, especially when we keep in mind all the other elements I've mentioned so far. And one other thing, if you were to look at silver, silver ran out Monday's highs. Okay, so this is Monday's highs over here. Silver ran that out. And we're gonna look at silver very quickly here. This is silver right here. So silver, this is Monday's highs, right? Silver ran that out. Gold, on the other hand, silver ran this out, cool. And let's go back to our gold. Let me not mess this up. What's this chart looking at? Tell me, is this chart? Yes. Gold did not run out Monday's highs. It didn't even get back to the weekly opening. You're probably wondering what this is. This is the weekly opening price, starting at midnight. So it didn't even go back over here. So again, everything was pointing towards a potential bearish gold, as much as we want to see everyone sees it go higher, including myself. But we got to stick to what's on price, what's in price. So, anyways, so pay attention to this level here on the 1 hour chart, right? That I just drew out the structural fair value gap, and then pay attention to this level here and look at how price treated them once it trades below it, resistance, trades below it, resistance, sells off. Let's go into 15-minute chart. Now we're into the 15-minute chart. So now this is where everything just plays out. This is where you get into more details. Once you add in all the things I already mentioned, there's even more details. Let's look even closely on the 15-minute chart. What is this right here? Another what? Structural fair value gap. Isn't that beautiful? Right there. Boom. This is the only fair value gap that exists. So the first one that exists for this whole price run. What does price do? It trades in there. Cool. The time of the day matters. 7 o'clock is when we want to start our New York session. So it trades in there. You still want to wait. 7 o'clock comes. Boom. Now it does a turtle soup, a flashbang. It runs higher, take out this pool liquidity, but still rejects. We didn't even have bodies close outside that level, right? So now it rejects, creates a nice what lose zone here. Okay. And then what does price do? Trade into that, right? And we get the sell-off. This is even significant because just from this run here to here, you also want to look at the 50% of every range. That's what you want to be executing. So 50%, right, is above here. So price trades literally. Bodies never close outside of 50%. And look how it just stayed at a 50% level, but it traded higher into this what? Premium loot zone, right? Premium because it's on the upper threshold of the 50% level. So you want to sell, you want to be selling above 50%. If you want to buy, you want to be buying a discount below 50%. There's a premium because it's above 50%. So now price is expensive. We want to be selling there. Okay, so I'm doing this fib. So price trades in there. And what do we have? Wick after wick after wick. That is indicating to us that there's weakness with all the other elements that are in place. You want a 5 minute chart. Back to this area real quick. In this 5 minute chart, you can see again another nice little loot zone. So even on a lower time frame, you can see the loot zone right there. And then what does it do? What you want to see is whenever there's a loot zone, you want to see a high right beside it. That's a powerful price pattern. Whenever there's a high, which is a high right here, and a loot zone, you want to see price run that high into that loot zone. Because think about it, it's taking liquidity and going to a level that's considered fair value. So that's wonderful for institutions to execute their positions because they're doing two things, taking liquidity and then entering a level of considered fair value. So that's two powerful things. And on top of that, above 50%. So it's a lot of things going on for this trade here. And we see a lot of wicks. So even if you didn't get in the first candle, you see the second candle, the third, the fourth. I mean, it was just there giving it to us. And sales were taking place right there. And their price drops to what? The 4,000 level. Okay. And then, so that's that for this one, right? 4,000 level. And then you're probably wondering, what is this RTH vault? RTH vault. Let me now give you another element of price as well. Well, before we get into that, and then look at the 5 minute chart here as well. You see this here on a 5 minute level. We had this nice little, after we had this one wick up higher, lower, then we have strong price action here. Boom, giving us a nice little what loop zone, nice little fair value gap. What is this right here? A nice little swing high on the 5 minute chart. Price trades into that, take out these highs. Look, the way I look at price is if there's a high, there's a high. If we believe price ran by an algorithm, once the high is there, the other algorithm sees is the high because it's data points. So I don't really say, well, this is not really as significant of a high. My mindset is this is a data point. It's clocking it as a high. Once price runs above that level, the algorithm clocks it as a high, and now it runs to a fair value gap. This could be easy sell off. So, anyways, we have this high right here. Price trades higher, and we have a nice little melt off to this RTH vault. RTH vault. What is that? Regular trading hour vaults. You want to keep track of those levels. So now I'm gonna take you guys even further into the future of how you want to look at price. And I didn't start looking at this till maybe 2 years ago or so. We want to pay attention to where are the vaults, where are the liquidity pools on the regular trading hour charts. That will also give you insight into where price is likely to go to. So if we're to take one step into the future of a trading analysis here, let's go to regular trading hours. Boom. Okay. Where is the pools of liquidity? Okay. The day started up here. So the markets on the futures market in gold, it closes at 4:15, I believe, New York time. It opens at 9:30. So that's why you have this big gap in price. It doesn't show the price action that happens overnight on this chart, on the regular trading hour charts. It just shows what happened within the trading hours. So where's the liquidity pool? There's one here, and there's one up here. This one right here. So when the day started, this is a VAR here. When the day started, we gapped up above that vault. We gapped up above this level. So what is that going to make a lot of retail traders think? Bullishness. We broke above the highs. It's breaking out because we had a strong gap open right above this high. So there's going to be breakout traders chasing that wanting to get along. And all price does is it sees that. So now we're the vaults. Where are the vaults? Here and here. So my brain, I'm looking at how we can eventually get back all the way down over there. As much as price has gapped up, price looks bullish. I understand we're in those higher time frame premium levels, daily fair value gap, 4 hour structural inverse loop zone. I'm looking at all of that. And I also see that there's clear liquidity on the lows. So frankly speaking, I wanted to hold this trade. I knew, and I'm not a fortune teller, but like I knew we were gonna price was gonna drop here. I was texting Valentine about this stuff. I was like, price is gonna go lower. Like I see 3960. And this is wild seeing 3960 because this is a clear, like just low hanging fruit right there that price could easily tackle. So that's the you want to keep track of these vaults. Now, if I put on my electronic trading hours, you're not going to see this as clear as day. Regular trading hours are clear. Let's go back to electronic trading hours since everyone trades that. But just keep in mind when you see RTH, I'm pulling from the regular trading hour vaults or charts. Now you see, it's not clear anymore. Like the vault is here. So most people are not gonna look at that. And then there's one here, which you might look at if you see this low right here. But for the most part, something like this, you want to really consider this little low as significant. So, anyways, just going back to the 15-minute chart for a second again. So anyway, secondary trade was taken here. Again, everything explained. Loot zone right here. Look at a 1 hour. I already showed the 1 hour chart, but loot zone right here on the 15-minute chart. And expectation we're gonna take out these lows and then eventually take out this low. And what do you have? Whoop-de-doo. Price hits that low and just comes off of it. So it was a very complete trade. I mean, if you were to hold from the top, which it was gonna be tough because of this news event, but catching two different trades is solid, but let's imagine holding from the top. That would be sick. $100 drop. That would be cool. But even regardless without that, still caught nice movement. This $38, risking 10 to get 38. Solid. And then here, risking 13 to get 59. So about 90 something. So we almost got the same thing we've caught by holding the trade regardless. But it just shows how beautiful, beautiful price can be when you're paying attention to those fair value gaps, those loot zones, and also you're paying attention to where are all the vaults on the regular trading hour chart. So that was pretty much my breakdown on the best trade of the week so far, gold. And I do think we probably have some more further downside to go to, but that's to be determined. The purpose of this specific video, we're breaking down the best trade setups of the week. So I hope that was very, very insightful for you guys.
Sheesh, lots of game, man. Why you give them all the game, bro? They got to hey, man. Talk about regular trading now, about like nigga structural loot zones. You gotta chill. Oh, what you talking about?
They're not ready, man. It's just one of those where you got to give them some nuggets, some sauce, so they know like it's a lot in the vault. We just getting started. We're just getting started. That's nothing. We have way more sauce to give.
For sure, man. Advanced course coming soon, but hey, we have a free boot camp this Sunday. But before we close it out, any one or two things you learn from these trades.
Um, one or two things. I mean, really just sticking to the higher time frame. Um, can't ignore, you know, the higher time frame. Especially like 4 hour. Like one thing I've learned is when price really respects or disrespects the structure for value gaps, you want to stick to that flow. You want to stick to that flow. This is from a technical standpoint. Just stick to that flow because I've tried so many times where price had not disrespected a fair value gap yet, and I try to go against it. It
Mhm.
just never like it's always a struggle. You're better off when you see that price, for example, just very quickly here on this 4 hour chart is the best way to explain it. When you see that price, the structure fair value gap, price is below it. Trying to take some buys to, especially once you're already at this level, trying to take buys is gonna be a struggle. Like it's gonna be a struggle. Like, can you take buys? Yes, because you can see structural change on a lower time frame. Yes, but for the most part, we're better off, at least from what I've learned, and just focusing on these fair value gaps. Better off sticking to if I see a structure fair value gap being flipped from bullish in this case to bearish, sticking to looking for trades that are going to eventually continue that bearish tune or that bearish tone. So I mean, I think that's one thing I'll say is just once you see those higher time frame, 4 hour, daily, 1 hour structural fair value gaps being inverted, just following that flow and just waiting for those sales to finally keep back in.
Solid, solid, man. Yeah, I hope y'all have pen and notepad, man. Taking notes. But Sunday, November 1st, free boot camp live on YouTube. Time has been released. Join the Discord. The time will be dropped, but most likely evening time. It's gonna be a 4-day boot camp, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and also Back Snatcher is going to be live streaming for maybe 2 days. Okay, so let's go. That's all I can say, man. Let's go, man. Go
Yes,
busting
sir.
them.
Let's get it. Let's get it, man. Time to run these heists.
All right, let's get it, man. All right, man. Talk to y'all Sunday. Yeah. Y'all Sunday.